and it's Mr. Cicilline's amendment, so the gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And I want to first say that our ranking member submitted an amendment that I think dealt with this issue in a much more comprehensive and a broader way. That amendment narrowly failed, and I've now offered a new amendment, which I hope there will be broad consensus on, and that is really an amendment which expresses the sense of Congress that the Secretary of State should discourage foreign governments from condoning murder and other forms of physical violence that is directed against persons because of their sexual orientation or gender identity. This is a real issue. People are dying all over the world because of who they are. There was a recent report done by the State Department, and I'm going to quote from it, a human rights report. A third trend, and one that points in a negative direction, was the continuing escalation of violence, persecution, and official and societal discrimination of members of vulnerable groups, often religious, racial, or ethnic minorities, or disempowered majorities. In many countries, this pattern of discrimination extended to women, children, persons with disabilities, indigenous, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgendered persons, and members of other vulnerable groups who lack the political power to defend their own interests. They go on to say persons around the world continue to experience discrimination and intimidation based on their sexual orientation or gender identity. Honduras saw an upsurge in killing of members of the LGBT community by unknown perpetrators. Meanwhile, in many African, Middle Eastern, and Caribbean nations, same-sex relations remain a criminal offense, and through such laws and other measures, the state reinforces and encourages societal discrimination and intolerance. In Uganda, for example, intimidation and harassment of LGBT individuals worsened during the year, and some government and religious leaders threaten LGBT individuals. There are examples in the State Department analysis that found abuses against members of the LGBT community in Iran, where the punishment for homosexual acts is death. And in Bulgaria, there was a huge amount of violence that was conducted during a gay pride parade in Sofia. And the examples go on of violence and murder and physical attacks of members of this community. At the very least, the Congress of the United States should stand very strongly and loudly against violence against people because of who they are, against murder and physical violence. And I hope that every single member of this committee can join in this expression that at the very least we can protect members and advocate for the protection of members from the LGBT community all over the world to be free from being murdered and beaten because of who they are. There are so many examples of this kinds of violence, and a strong statement from the Congress of the United States can make a real difference.